Modern mirrorless cameras have a tendency of being a little bit too overcomplicated. So today I'll be sharing with you my top 5 overlooked camera settings that you shouldn't ignore for your next photo shoot. And I'm going to start right now. Straight out of the box, the likelihood your camera is probably shooting in JPEG mode. Now there's nothing inherently wrong with a JPEG file, but it doesn't give you the full quality, dynamic range or color than a RAW file can offer. So the very first thing I'd recommend changing is to make sure that your camera is shooting in RAW mode. This will give you the most amount of flexibility and color control when it comes to post-production. Now if you still want the security of a JPEG file, then I'd recommend shooting in JPEG plus RAW mode. This means we'll have 2 duplicate photos, one in JPEG and one in RAW. Now, if RAW files are just too big for your SD card, then I'd recommend shooting in compressed RAW mode. This has most of the benefits of a RAW file while being far smaller, taking up far less space on your SD card. The next setting I would change is to make sure that your image review is turned off. And I find this very frustrating. Straight out of the box, the likelihood your camera, every time you'll take a photo, it will display that photo for maybe 2 to 4 seconds after you've taken it. And that's really annoying, especially if you're on a photo shoot taking multiple photos continuously. So if that's really annoying to you, I'd make sure to go ahead and turn image review off. I find it really helpful, especially for a wedding day. Next, I would make sure that your time and date is set with inside your camera. Now this is really important if you're shooting with another photographer or if you're just shooting on 2 cameras. Maybe you're photographing a really important event, and if your time and date is 15 to 20 minutes out on your cameras, you'll really notice that when you go ahead and edit them in Lightroom. If you edit by time and date, your photos are going to be way off because of your metadata categorization. So to make sure that never happens to you, make sure you correctly set the time and date for your time zone. Now, most modern mirrorless cameras have a new feature called exposure simulation, which will live show your exposure through either the EVF or LCD. So to make sure you get this really handy feature, which is something I love with modern mirrorless cameras, make sure that your exposure simulation is turned on. Now, if you ever upload any photos online, my next tip is incredibly important, and that is to correctly set your copyright information inside your camera. Every time you take a photo, you can burn in your personal as well as your company name into your photo. So if that's really important to you and you upload lots of photos online, make sure you correctly input your copyright information inside your camera. So there's a list of my top 5 overlooked camera settings that you shouldn't ignore in your new camera. And if you can think of any more, make sure to go ahead and write them in the comments below. I've been James for Photo Fever, and I'll catch you guys next time.